So it is Sunday morning. It is March 15th, 2020, my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. And this is what a coronavirus Sunday looks like. Well, at least a church parking lot on a Sunday looks like. The service is being live streamed, so you can check it out online. But this is pretty unprecedented stuff, so you don't have to come to a warehouse to worship. You can worship in your home today. You ever have those moments where something happens and you're reading something in God's Word, or you hear a sermon or some kind of godly encouragement, and it happens to go right in line with that current situation? That happened today. I'm really excited to share with you today's vlog. This is day 73 and we're in Deuteronomy 14 through 16. You're right, we do need to listen to God. I'm feeling a little better, but I still feel slightly under the weather. In chapter 14 of Deuteronomy, this is where God lists clean and unclean animals that the people of Israel are allowed to consume. Towards the end of the chapter, he's talking about tithing, but talking specifically how God is going to be the one that's going to set up where the tithe is to take place. He is the one that's going to establish that place of worship. Chapter 15, he talks about the sabbatical year. The sabbatical year was where after 6 years of working the land, the 7th year they would cause it to rest. And there were different things within this year that would take place. If anyone was in debt to someone else, they would be relieved of their debts, but you would still take care of the poor and take care of the needy. If there was a servant in their 7th year of serving someone, they would be allowed to go free. But if they wanted to stay, what would happen is they would basically pierce their earlobe, and that person would become a bondservant. Like they want to stay there, they want to serve. Then in chapter 16, there's the feasts that are listed: Passover, Feast of Weeks, and Feast of Booths. And all three of these have this one idea in common, and we see it here in chapter 16, that God is the one that is going to set up the place in which these feasts are to be observed. God is the one that is going to set up and choose the places of worship. But the thing that I read here that correlated with events of today are really found in, I believe, 9 different verses. You see chapter 14, verse 23, 24, and 25. It's 3. Chapter 15, verse 20. 16, verse 2. Verse 6, verse 11, verse 15, verse 16. And it's this phrase or this idea that God is the one who is choosing the places of worship that he wants his people to worship at. Today is Sunday, March 15, 2020, and today is kind of an unprecedented day because of the coronavirus that is just setting the world, in chaos. The governor of Colorado has issued or strongly suggested that churches don't gather, or gatherings of 250 or more people don't gather, to keep from the virus spreading. And so today, Ridgeline and many other churches in Colorado, we decided to not gather in person, but to have a live stream service, which you saw happening earlier. And I thought it was so interesting that I was reading these 4 chapters, of which it is very clear that God is dictating the place of worship for his people, when for us today the place of worship has changed significantly. And it's a reminder that while it is important to gather together, and we don't want to neglect the gathering together of the saints, that we have the Spirit of God living inside of us. We don't have to wait till a Sunday or a small group or a Bible study to worship God. We worship God all the time, everywhere. He lives inside of us. So I thought it was just interesting that while today is an unprecedented day in church history, that we see God is the one who dictates. God is the one who tells us where to go, how to worship, where to worship, and that we are not driven by things of this world. We're not driven by anything other than God, but we are dictated by God himself. And we can worship in our homes together with other believers, our own families, just as much as we can worship when we gather together as the church. So I just thought it was interesting, and it's kind of cool how the Lord does that. But yeah, that's really it for today's vlog.